Hello, welcome to our class of English teaching level 2. I'm very glad you're here and we're home again because of the COVID um, distractions at school. So, guys, we're going to be here um, with a little bit of restrictions, but I do believe we're going to do a great job. Thank you for connecting so early this day, everyone. So today's topic, as you're seeing on your screens right now, it's going to be a little hearing of something that is really interesting that I want to talk to you about. First, I want to talk to you a little bit about the experience of what it is. You're going to hear the broadcast, the radio broadcast of a book. It is a really interesting book called The War of the Worlds, who was written in who was written by H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells wrote that book in 1898. So he wrote that book, which later, if you can remember, we got a movie of Tom Cruise about the World of Worlds, and previously another movie and an English movie, and even a series, which wasn't very successful. But so there's a lot of things around this book and this movie, but there's a particular part which is really really interesting. That is something that happened on CBS. Yes, you may not um, wonder that not all the time CBS has ever been a movie and a TV or a cable company. Guys, CBS was a radio. So at the beginning of everything, and I'm talking about 1938, this was this really interesting young man, okay, who was actually called Orson Welles. H.G. Wells, the writer of the book, but this guy who was an artist of the novels, of the here novels, make a broadcast narration of the world of the world in Radio City, New York, on CBS in 1930. And guess what? On that time, everything that came on the radio caused panic. So some people say, which is not absolutely true, that some of them they heard a lot of panic everywhere, and people was desperate, thinking that what they heard on the radio was true. Guess what? We're going to devote 15 minutes of our class to the beginning of that. We're going to hear the same radio recording that it still exists. Believe me, it's going to be the same one. And you're going to be hearing Orson Welles and all his crew, because for that time, creating what we call a radio novel, which was actually a novel but on the radio. It's like a series of Netflix or CBS or a soap opera series, but that's done on the radio, which is amazing. I, I'm not going to tell you I grew up with that. I'm from Honduras. I'm in another culture, but in here that was really popular. In here we have one that it's called uh, Frijol y Gañote. It was really impressive, and we had another one. It's called Calimán. That was pretty cool, guys. We heard that, and we had one that is called Cuentos y Leyendas de Honduras that was actually having horror stories from the whole Honduras told at 8 p.m. And that time, 8 p.m. was a spooky hour. Not at this time, but that was really interesting. So, what are going to be your class objectives? Please write it down. Please write it down. Thank you very much. Our objectives will be students will be able to develop listening activities. I want you to get better at listening and then and speaking. That's the thing that we're going to work a lot, okay? We're going to work a lot with your listening activities and your speaking activities. And you will be able to summarize the listening audio on your own words. In other words, you're going to listen to the audio, and I want to really you to pay carefully attention, because after this, you're going to be able to summarize in your notebook or in a piece of paper, whatever is what's coming on that audio. So I will need you to be totally and absolutely focused on this. So on our goals, we're going to have two. One of them is you're going to be better at hearing, and you're going to be able to understand everything, because actually the language is pretty easy to understand. And of course, you get me, you can ask me whenever you want for time. And I'm going to give you a link where you can hear the whole story. It wasn't more than an hour of Radio hall music narrative. Pretty interesting. Okay. How do we, how are we doing with the last class? Do you remember what we did? Yes, we had some pronunciation activities, and today we're going to do the same thing. And we're gonna start this with some tongue twisters. Do you remember them? I got them over here. Give me a couple of seconds, guys. There you go. So I'm gonna tell you a tongue twister and you're gonna repeat it. And I do really want you to all to try to repeat it, okay? Because next class, guys, you're gonna give a little oral speech. You're gonna talk a little bit about the summary that you're gonna do this week from this homework. But let's start with some tongue twisters, something that we have been doing in class, well, for a long time. So let's try to do this. I'm gonna give you this. Rubber baby budgie bumpers. I'm gonna say it again. Rubber baby budgie bumpers. Rubber baby budgie bumpers. Okay, that's good. That's good. How much ground will a groundhog grin if a groundhound could grin ground? That's a pretty funny one. I'll do it again. How much ground will a groundhog grin if a groundhog could grin ground? Okay. Okay, you're getting it. You're getting it. Okay. So I'm gonna ask you to do this again at the end of the class, and the first one who wins will get a cold iced Coca-Cola that I right there. Okay, now let's go to this. You already have a short review of the world of the words. You already get that. That's the book, and yeah, I can imagine that my instructions were you got to read them, right? So I'm hoping that you have read that. I'm pretty sure you did. And what are we going to do now? It's again the radio broadcast of that, which is managed to be two different stories, but they're really interesting. And I'm going to ask you this: have you ever heard of radio novel? Have you ever heard about that? And that's a question for you guys that are your youngsters. Have you ever? If not, we're going to do that in this class a lot because there's a lot of radio novels there that you're going to enjoy a lot. So let's discuss a little bit why it is important for objective classes to do this. And the first part, guys, will be is because you need to get better at listening. Listening is one of the most important influential parts in English listening or English learning, English speaking, English everything. So this is one of the most important parts. And the other one, which is amazingly important to is summarize. You need to understand something before you summarize. Summaries, we have been doing summaries in this class for a whole year. But summarizing, it's really important because it shows up three basic things. One of them is that you actually understood what you're hearing, or in this case, listening, and you're able to express your ideas, so you're able to interpret what you have ever learned and then write it down. So a lot of hangouts there. Okay, guys, that's it for the lesson. Thank you very much. I'm getting to my time. Have a great day.